Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the SMITE Update. I'm here with my co-host Octane Pro.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to another week. I know we've kind of been absent for the past 2 weeks. We did have a hot fix just last week, so we didn't really feel the need to go ahead and do a show. There wasn't a ton of content, but we are happy to be jumping back into things. How you been, Dry Bear? What have you been up to recently?
I've been doing good, just riding that ranked ladder up, enjoying the SMITE in all its glory.
You're going to get it up, and then they're just going to reset the thing. Bam!
Yeah, but then, I don't know, it's good practice, especially since, I'm on EU and USE servers all the time. It's like, once I get used to the latency, it's just, super comfortable.
Yeah, that's like Rocky, practice over there. You go ahead and practice on EU, you get used to the lag, and then bam, you come back over to North America and you tear it up.
Oh, yeah, dude, I'm scared because Pon's in the same boat I'm in. He's US West. Yeah. So he plays on ranked with 200 ping. So I'm scared. Once there's land capability and Curse comes in and Pon comes out, it's like, oh no, he's gonna have 6 MS coming through. It's like, oh god, look out.
Yeah, I can't wait for the first LAN event for SMITE, especially at least in North America. I think it'll be super cool, and looking forward for something down the road here to develop.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and hop into the patch here. Most notably about this patch, they released a new god, Aphrodite. They introduced new changes, a lot of bug fixes too, some that more long-standing than others, and a few spectator changes and god changes as well. Some controversial, and some that might make you real, but some definitely were needed in the first place. But let's go ahead and hop into the first thing, which is going to be Aphrodite, the new guy, which what you will see on screen currently. She is a support and a full support. She's not a support tank. We have a lot of support tanks. We don't really have any full supports like Aphrodite, and she has a lot of cool abilities. Let's go ahead and hop into her first ability here, which is passive, which she converts 30% of all mana gained to anyone she's linked to, which would be your first ability. Have you played Aphrodite at all?
I have played Aphrodite, and the first time playing her, it's kind of like you're stumbling through with training wheels on. And then last night, actually, I was casting Curse Gaming versus BLG. I'm sorry, Curse Gaming versus Reason Gaming, and EMC Squared actually played her. So it was really cool to see it in a scrimmage type of situation. And to get back to your original question regarding the passive, time and time again, I actually saw Aphrodite getting mana buff. And this is pretty much why, just because of the fact of having that ability to share with her soulmate. So she was laning with on her, and we actually got to see, hey, she went ahead and got the mana buff, and then bam, it was just transferred right over to him. So it's a pretty cool passive, I'll have to say. What about you?
It works pretty well with meditation too. You can find someone who's low, and you'll just give them 30% right away, literally just a third of their mana bar, and then the passive that ensues after does apply a lot more mana after that. So I mean, she's just full support. She can just run around smooching people and giving out those lovely healing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she has a really good kit, and she seems really strong, and that passive really does work well with her. So the next ability is kind of what brings her together as a god is her first ability, which is called Kiss. Aphrodite blows a kiss to an allied god. She will then link to that god and then make them, both Aphrodite and that god, move faster. And then she has the opportunity to use it again on an enemy god. If it hits an enemy god, it will stun them for a static 1 second. But if she does stun an enemy god while linked to an allied god, that allied god will do increased damage up to 20%, I believe, for 8 seconds at max rank. And it's also important to note that this doesn't incur a cooldown if you landed on an allied god, so you constantly be switched between gods. You can only have one link up on one god at a time, but definitely a very, very strong ability and works very well with a lot of good characters. Have you played a lot of Aphrodite and used? At first I thought I was because it's weird because it locks on if you have the little kiss over it, and I didn't know that right away, and I kept trying to skill shot my allies over and over, and I kept missing. But
I have seen. I played her a little bit. Not enough to make any strong, valid points regarding any stats or anything like that. But what I was thinking last night when I was casting that match was, imagine the kiss is on someone on her, for example, and then you have the team get Fire Giant, so they get Fire Giant. Then you have her go ahead and get DPS buff, or the on her get DPS buff, and then they go ahead and try to attack someone and pop Girdle of Might. So you're not only having all three of those, then on top of that, you can have the jealousy come into effect if she gets the kiss off, and you have an increased amount of damage up to, 20%?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that's one-shot kills, I think. I haven't done the math. I'm waiting for, Pom to do his amazing calculations that he does.
Low-key Hydra's Lament.
Like, I'm just thinking about it. Like, I'm just like, all right, theory crafting, here we go. And I was just like, wow, like, this has so much potential, as you said before, as a support and utility guide.
Yep, strong character. So go ahead and go into the next ability here, which is back off. This one is a little jarring at first once you get comfortable with how it works, but all it is basically in a circle around Aphrodite, she will slam backwards and push back anyone nearby, doing magic damage to them, slowing them. However, if you're linked to an ally, the source of the AoE originates from that ally and not you. That's something that a lot of, if you play Aphrodite for the first time, it's the first thing you realize is like, wait, I just two'd and nobody got hurt, and it comes from the person you are linked to. And it does kind of play into her character style and concept design that you're supposed to be, part of somebody else, like a working duo. So it does work well with that. It actually has really good scaling on it and does good damage as well. I did a joust with Aphrodite, and it scales up pretty high. It does a lot of damage, but it's a very strong ability. Have you messed around with it at all?
I have, and I have to agree with you. Like, at first, when you first use it, right on yourself, it's like, okay, this is a pretty cool ability, does a decent amount of damage, especially once you get up there to like mid and high level. But then when you are actually a soulmate connected and you go ahead and pop it on that soulmate, having the ability to like stay back and then actually pop that from a ranged is so cool. And so I think she's a really cool god. I'm really happy to see this different type of gameplay style that we haven't seen, and I feel like Smite has been really unique in the gods they've come out with recently. Just with a play, this play style is completely different than like anyone else. And then we saw like Shablanke come out, and his ult is global. Vulcan with the turret style. So I feel like Smite and the high-res developers are really stepping up their game when it comes to god design. And this stemming off your question about back off. Just having the ability to interconnect with another god and then have your abilities bounce off of her is really cool.
Oh yeah, it's really awesome, and it does help too. I mean, I've found that it's best to run her in a side lane with a melee physical carry, just so they're always in melee range. You can just constantly spam that for the slow or the knockback or whatever you need. So this will lead directly into her third ability, which is called Lovebirds. It's actually a very strong ability. You've seen it a bunch of times on screen already. It's like a giant rectangle. It's about, it's really thick. It's like the thickness of an Ao Kuang ultimate, but not as long. And what it does is it'll shoot out birds, and the birds, regardless if they hit anything, will come back and heal Aphrodite, and by extension, anyone she's linked to. But if the birds land on anyone, it's like a damage over time effect, which will start pushing them and just does a lot of damage. And this will apply the slow from Gem of Isolation for the entire duration of the damage over time effect. But mainly it's just there for the heals, and the heals are actually really, really strong. They're also good for pushing the wave too. So I mean, it just really helps her in the laning phase.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely adds to that support and utility type of class god that she is. So I'm really happy to see. Like, I just don't know how viable she would be if she didn't have this like heal. So yeah, this is a great ability, and I agree with you. It is very strong right now.
And it goes directly into her ultimate, and if anyone who's played TF2 will know exactly what this is.
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy medic ubercharge.
Yep.
So when she activates her ultimate, it makes her and anyone she's linked to invulnerable to all sources of damage for 0.8 seconds at the first level, and the max rank would be 2 seconds. So up to 2 seconds is a very long time to be invulnerable. It also will remove all crowd control effects on use on both characters. This will prevent, Ares pulls. This will prevent, damage from any source of any kind. So it's a very strong ability, and if used properly in the right hands, is just incredibly useful in all kinds of team fights, with like raw ultimates or anything like that. Even in like my first game with Aphrodite, I countered like 5 Ares ultimates with me and a partner, just like avoiding it immediately. So it's definitely a really strong ability, and it brings it all together. At first glance, it doesn't seem like it's an ultimate, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, I think it's really strong, and I might sound like a broken recorder here, but this utility god that we're seeing here, like. I feel like she's going to be almost a necessity as you start to go down the road with like large team fights. Because think of it, like she pops her ult, so you and your teammate are invulnerable. Well, you didn't pop your Aegis, you didn't pop a beads, so you still have those. And some right now in the meta, we do see some gods that are actually stacking both of those. So to have like all 3 of those would be ridiculous and very strong. So I think this is awesome. I think it's a great ability, and I'm hoping to see actually like more support and utility gods as we go down the road to start to make it like a cookie cutter. Like, hey, with every group of 5, you need to have one utility god. I think that'd be cool to see.
Absolutely. I'm glad that there's another healing god in there. I think we didn't have enough heals as it is.
Yep.
And if you look at the total numbers for Aphrodite at the end of a match, she can heal for a great amount. I mean, she's such a great healer. She keeps someone sustained in the lane for like indefinitely. If she gets blue buff or meditation, she can just sit in the lane with somebody and just never leave. I mean, she can just stay there forever. So the sustain is really good, and I'm glad that there's more support-based gods rather than support tanks. I think we have a lot of support tanks, and I'd like to see more support-based gods, especially gods that maybe have like a big team fight ultimate, but beyond that are more meant for support, maybe like a Lich,
Sure.
or a what is it, Wraith? No, it's a something Rider. Sand Rider I forget what it is in Heroes of New Earth. It's like maybe someone in the chat knows, but it's just someone who's like very heavy support, but has a strong team fight ultimate, kind of like the Aphrodite, but maybe meant for damage. And I'm just curious to see how many unique gods they can come up with in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's possibilities are endless, and as I said, we're the rumor is like 40 gods is right around when they want to launch. So I just can't believe like we're almost like there in regards to numbers, because I remember playing this game and like 30 gods seemed like it was so far away, and now we're like pushing almost up to that 40 mark. So
Yep.
pretty cool. Well, anyways, guys, second part of the patch notes here is new skins. First skin is actually Hercules Grand Slam, which actually reminds me of like a Babe Ruth style looking Hercules. And probably one of the coolest things about this is for his ult, it is not a giant boulder. You actually see a giant baseball. And I guess my two questions for you. First, what are your thoughts on the skin? And second, do you feel that these more modernized skins like this one and like the gangster-looking Vamana are taking away from the kind of game theme, or no? Do you think that there's something that's necessary for the game at this point?
I think it's awesome, and I think it's something
Okay.
just fun and enjoyable, and I think it's something that if they're gonna have a game like this, that it's just, especially with a free-to-play model, it's just something for the viewers and the gameplay and the users to enjoy, but also something for high-res to increase their revenue and gain something that would keep their game going from this game. So I think it's very important, and
Okay.
I think they don't really have to adhere to it too hard, and obviously it is a skin, and they seem to be very vehement in sticking to the lore and the idea and the concept design of the gods specifically.
Sure.
Just not to break into the religions, but I think the skin kind of breaks them of that rigid outline where they have to follow it and they can just have fun with it.
And we have a second skin here, which is actually our Aphrodite skin, Majestrix. And then we also have our third one, Convention 2013 Kali skin. And then finally the Alienware Ra skin. So what are your thoughts, I guess, on the Aphrodite skin? And then we'll talk about the Kali one.
Well, you can see it on screen, and I think it's actually pretty nice for a repack recolor type thing.
Sure.
I like the fact that it does seem to have a different color to it. It's not like actually on screen you'll see me use my ultimate to avoid the Ares pull, as I was talking about earlier. But I think it's pretty good for a recolor. I mean, some of the recolors I really didn't enjoy, like the Loki one or the Shibalanki one or anything like that. But I think it's pretty nice, and it does have that rich like purple color to it. I like it.
And then second, we had the Kali skin, which is very similar to what we saw with the Ra Alienware skin, which is that kind of red tone. For her, it really just looks like a recolor actually skin with just bright red skin. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts on that?
It could be done better. I really like the Artemis pack skin. I think it looks really nice, and I'm really glad that I got it because I compared to the regular Artemis, it's so much better. But the red Kali, it's like I mean, I'll probably, if I get it, I'll use it, but it's not like I have a need for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. If I have the favor, I'll buy it, but I'd rather, if Hi-Res is listening, I would rather them not release a half-ass skin than to actually release it. I'd rather see them wait and come out with something really sweet than something like this where it's not much you get excited about. I mean, so yeah, that's just my.
I don't know what it is with the red, like the raw red and the monkey red and the.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of revolving around. I mean, I know that the Alienware Raw, and it's kind of, I understand, like, okay, like, I don't know if it's a partnership or whatever collaboration they're doing with Alienware there. So, okay, whatever. But, like, why are we seeing it like merge onto other gods? Now that we're kind of moving on.
I don't know. And the alien Ra doesn't look too bad. It's just like a blue Ra. And I think if it came with effects, like the lasers were all blue, I think it'd be an awesome skin. I think that'd be really cool if like all the lasers are blue too. But just by itself, it looks pretty cool. It does have like the Alienware on the chest too, which is like I still think there needs to be an Iron Man Ra.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Especially because, like, if you remember, if anyone follows Hi-Rez on Facebook with Smite, when they hit like 1 million accounts, you saw like Ra like bursting forward, and you saw a giant beam come out of his chest, and it's like 1 million accounts, and it's like, oh, like perfect opportunity to release like an Iron Man skin, like right there, like they already have it going on.
It does look pretty good, and I think they have a lot of opportunities for really cool skins, and we're seeing that with like the Hercules skin and the Vimana skin and the Sobek skin, so definitely some cool stuff.
Yeah, I guess the only thing we'll have to worry about is if they come out with like Iron Man, for example, while asking for it, is they'll probably have to pay rights, for actually putting something. So, you know what I mean? So maybe that's what stopped them, because that idea. But anyways, moving on. Third part of the patch notes this week is the general section, and the first thing here is teams are now called clans. Pretty basic and simple. What are your thoughts on this? Did this need to have a change or what?
It's more of those like small nitty gritty things, but it does, it helps with the confusion.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can see it, as you said, confusion there is like, a lot of people, you get in a game, you join a group, you want instead of calling it a group, a clan. Okay, makes sense. But I like the change because calling it teams and then in discussions or talking about things, a team to me is someone like Curse Gaming or Root or Copenhagen Wolves. Like, those are teams compared to the group. I'm just calling it group because just you and a group of friends or whatever. I can see how they went with clans. So it's a little technicality, but it makes sense to me. Moving on, second item here, all gods have been relabeled, either assassin, bruiser, tank, mage, support, or carry. God tooltips have been adjusted to provide information. What are your thoughts on that? Did you think that all the gods need to be recategorized?
Kind of. Their categories were pretty poopy. And it really came down to like I'm curious to see, because I thought about it when I saw the patch notes, and I forgot to do it, but I wanted to look through and see like what gets categories as what, like is Arachne an assassin, is Arachne a carry, because she's kind of in between, kind of thing. So it's just one of those things where it did need to be done because their categorization wasn't too great, but I'm curious to see how they end up doing it.
Yeah, and then third item here, the guides menu underwent a significant change. Now we're starting to see, the character builder in there, video tutorials, god guides, community websites, and a little bit more. So I'm really happy to see them starting to connect more with community websites. Definitely is the big thing there that I see, and make it a little bit. The guide site was a little when it came out, but now they're going crazy with it, and I'm really happy with it. What about you? What are your thoughts on it?
Pretty good. I think it on the front page, like the aesthetics of it is nice. It still needs more good guides. I don't think it's really like a community hub for all your Smite information just yet. But that's going to come in time as people start to understand the game, and as that middle class of gamers starts to develop.
Sure, definitely. We also have now consumables currently equipped by players now show on the in-game scoreboard. Did you find this something that was needed, or is it just like an extra feature? It's nice to see.
I don't know if I like it or not, because it shows wards even on the enemy team, so you'll know like if people have wards or not, or if they're out of consumables or whatever. It's it kind of comes into that middle ground between League of Legends where you can't see anything, League of Legends where you can see everything, versus Dota, where you can't even see how much mana the enemy team has without hovering over their actual character, which takes like an extra layer of skill. But I think it comes down to the fact that Smite has its own skill cap on it, and it's already skillful enough as it is. So maybe that kind of plays into that factor a little bit too. Just because it's like a tough game, so maybe making that easier. You look at your enemy, say they don't have any consumables left. So you'd have to click on them in Dota to be able to see that. But I guess in LoL you'd be able to see it anyway.
Yeah, I don't really like the fact that they're showing consumables. I would have actually liked to see a stat. I love stats. I love, at the end of game reviewing stats. And I really would like to see when a game ends and up on the stats, you can see, okay, Dry Bear used 30 health pots. or so many amount of mana pots throughout the whole game, and another screen where it shows your buffs. Like, I would love to know how many times Drybear got DPS buff in a game. And that might seem, to some people like, oh, it's not necessary, but I don't want to see this stuff as much in game. I want to see it after. So when you go ahead and diagnose your gameplay. But that's kind of just my thoughts when it comes to the consumables there. Another item that we actually saw, which is pretty cool. We're starting to see Smite add more and more of these like practice, small collaborations versus computers and stuff like that. And what they did was the Joust practice mode can now be played in co-op mode in parties of up to 3. You will face off against 1 to 3 enemy gods based on your party size. So have you had a chance to play with this at all yet?
I haven't chanced to play with it at all,
Okay.
but I intend to. It's interesting, and it's something that it's really going to help new players get into the game. Having these extra modes where you can practice certain things, or get involved with your teammates, or practice lane lineups and whatever. I mean, I think it's awesome.
And then we've also seen, I'll just go over both these there because these hit on the exact point you talked about. Additional bot gods have been added to co-op practice. We're now seeing Kali, Sobek, and Anubis. Furthermore, a new jungle practice map, which I haven't had a chance to see this yet, has been added as well. Have you had a chance to look at that at all?
No, not that one either. But I've heard, it's actually really interesting, and I think there was like an image on the Reddit of someone getting like 8 fire giant buffs because it just kept respawning or something. It seems like there's a lot of fun stuff, and it helps people learn to jungle as well.
Yeah, it's really surprising because a few months back we barely had any like game types. It was very basic, like, hey, you either played this or you played this, and that's it. But now, like, there's so much to do, and I like the fact that, like, I come from, as some people may know, like a StarCraft 2 background where people would actually get ladder, like, they would get nervous about ladder, and they wouldn't ever want to do ladder. And so their only choice would be, like, and they wouldn't even play one-on-one. So
RTS anxiety!
I know, right? They're like, oh, well, I can't stand what other people will think. I'm like, are you kidding me? They're on the opposite side of a computer. You have a random like handle, like it's no big deal. But what I saw in StarCraft 2 was, and what you're seeing really, if anyone has played Heart of the Swarm, where you start out playing computers, and then the computer difficulty level gets harder and harder and harder, and then eventually it's like, okay, now you're ready to play a player. And I like how Smite now is giving us all these options for different types of modes against computers. As a new player, like a buddy of mine just started playing like a week ago. Like he just hit level 5, and he's just like, hey, I'm not ready yet, to be, playing in arena or anything. He's like, I feel more comfortable against computers, and this gives me the opportunity to go ahead and play with him and be like, hey, let's play together. I know you're comfortable with computers, so I think this is outstanding. It's very much new player friendly, and I think that's what Smite has needed.
Absolutely, and it's something that just, even I think Matty Pocky was talking about it. He said that it was really nice, the fact that if they wanted to practice like a lane, like against their teammates, or even like 2 players from another team, they would queue up as 5, get in the same game, and coordinate going to the same lane and making sure that nobody takes their lane or whatever, or steals the god. So this is just really nice for people to just queue up as 4 or 2v2 and just go in and go face each other in practice. It's just really nice that they have that option available. And maybe they're extending the Joust map to be able to have 5 for ARAMs at some point, because we're kind of like forcing it on the Conquest map.
Well, that was my thoughts too, was when I was looking at the Joust, and my first thought was that as well with ARAM, and then I was like, this kind of reminds me of like, because I will admit, I used to play World of Warcraft back in the day, people.
Everybody did.
So anyways, it reminds me of like arena, like 3 versus 3 arena like competitions, and I was like, maybe we'll start to see 3 versus 3 like Joust style maps become bigger and bigger. So there's so much potential now within Smite to expand these things into further esports. We're also seeing, when creating a custom map, you can now choose to utilize the 4-ban draft mode, which allows each team to ban 2 gods. Did you think this was necessary? I mean, the typical for draft was 2 gods total banned, and now we're seeing 4. What are your thoughts about that?
They're just working towards making the tournaments go faster, because it takes forever sometimes. I mean, what they really need to do is how it's been working recently, and it's always been 2 bans, and most recently the Curse tournament implemented 4 bans, and then there was 4 bans for the wildcard event, and it's just like, it's hard to get because obviously if there's any U team facing an NA team, whoever gets the hometown server, the opposite team will get first pick, first ban. But
Sure.
when you're doing a challenge match, it's hard to, you can't choose who gets first pick or first ban in that system. So a lot of times they'll do it by hand. They'll just go into chat and say, I ban this person, I ban this person, now I pick this person. So they'll do all it by hand, and it just takes forever. So being able to pick that in the challenge match, and as they keep adding more and more to that, I think it'll speed up the tournament process, which is kind of lengthy at this current point in time. It's just there's just a lot of niceties they need to add, and I think this is one of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. A few weeks ago, I did the My Revenge double elimination February finals tournament, and it was like 6 hours long, and you understand just how long it gets with, you have time between those matches, which is already a delay, and then to have the entire pick process take forever is even longer. So I completely agree. I'm glad that this is going to start to speed that process up just a little bit more. Another change that we do have going on here is the visibility range of wards now shows more accurately on the mini-map based on line of sight rules. Wards have had an adjustment made last patch and now this patch. Do you think wards are perfect where they're at, or do you think this change was needed?
I think it was definitely needed. There was some times where it would just, I don't know, it needs to be the point where we actually have ward spots, like actual real ward spots, because of the line of sight. And I think the line of sight was a good addition because line of sight and the reduction of wards, because it was just it was like just peppering the map with wards the way it was before, having 5 wards and they're all 50 gold and they're just over walls and all around a 360 vision. It was just like you just fill your arms with wards and start throwing them out like Oprah all across the map. So I'm glad they adjusted that, so it's a little bit more precise and involved in the thought process on how you place wards. And now adding making sure it's line of sight and making sure it's more involved will also give support something to do. Just make sure that like support actually has some theory crafting going into it. So I like the change.
Yeah, no, I think it was definitely necessary there. So we also have here the health bars on Gold Fury, Towers, Phoenixes, and Fire Giants have been modified. And I actually had the opportunity to see this last night when I was casting some of those scrimmages. And it's really nice to see now. Like, it's so much more visible. Before, like, you had to have the perfect angle to go ahead and see that bar, especially as like a caster or even as a player. When you're up underneath like the Minotaur or something, you can't exactly see that perfect health bar. So it's just a small adjustment. I personally feel it was needed. Do you think it was necessary?
Yeah, definitely. And there's just a lot of stuff that's necessary right now. And they're just kind of sprinkling it in little by little, making the wards different colors, which was a big thing. And then the health bars, little by little, they're just adding a lot of great things. It just seems like they're getting closer to a more polished product.
And then finally here, modifications have been made to how the jungle is actually at this point. Did you think there needed to be an audio adjustment?
It seemed like they did an attenuation earlier, like 3 weeks ago or so, and it seemed like it wasn't perfect just yet. There's some points where you could still hear through, walls where you really shouldn't have. So it just came down to that, and they don't really give specifics here, so it's hard to say whether it was needed or not. But definitely something that really does add into that.
Sure.
And also we have the health bars, which was really a big addition there. Definitely something that it was. I love it.
Yep, especially from a spectator caster perspective, it's really nice to see those.
Well, it's important for the Hand of the Gods adjustment too, for the 10%, because you can see, I think it's 10 bars, so 10% is 1 bar. So once you get down to 1 bar, you can Hand of the God the objective. I haven't really been playing, support tank or roaming jungle or anything that would get Hand of the Gods recently, so I haven't actually been staring at the objective to see if I can Hand of the Gods at the 1 block mark. I don't know if anyone can chat can answer that, but I'm pretty sure that's really what it's for.
Sure.
So going to the next part here, just some more general stuff. We have various cleanups made to the match lobby user interface. A lot of stuff actually went into that. You won't see enemy names on the opposite team when you go into a lobby now. So if you go in and you see Octane Pro, you don't have to dodge because you won't know about it ahead of time because he's just going to destroy you or anything like that. Also in ranked matches, you won't see anybody's rating anymore, so there won't be any more that kind of business where that elitism comes in, where people are yelling at each other like, oh well, you're the lowest rating, so you have to play support or whatever. So you probably won't see that. I guess it's just making the game nicer. I kind of liked having the rating, but it's gone now, so that is really what they did with all the lobby. Have you looked at this at all?
I have. I actually noticed it first. Yesterday, the first game I played was actually a joust, and I definitely noticed it. I was like, enemy 1? I was like, did I select against the computer or something? I'm like, what? And then I get into it. I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And then I actually did a ranked and noticed that as well. So I understand why they removed it. They're trying to make it more of like from a Blizzard perspective with the hidden matchmaking value. So I understand that. Just kind of. But I also understand a lot of people were complaining about like, hey, I join in and I'm at 1200 elo, and the rest of my teammates are 500, and on the other team there's a 2400. Like, how is this balanced? So it'll kind of get rid of some of that QQing regarding some of the ranked matchups at this point.
Well, that's just going to go away with time once we have more people playing.
Yep.
But in those situations, I think I do prefer to know, just because it's just like, there's sometimes where, I don't know, if you queue late at night or at a non-prime time slot, sometimes the rating gap will be so large that you kind of have to figure out, like if you're the top rated in the lobby, you have to figure out who the other top rated is, so you can figure out who you're going to focus to make sure you win this game, because it's like sometimes they pop like a 2800 with like 600s and 500s. You're like, all right, I need to find that person and kill him over and over and over, because this is just not a very good matchmaking situation. But yeah, definitely some good stuff going into that. The next thing is they have various bug fixes and cleanups made to the tutorial. I haven't been testing the tutorial or the changes to it at all. Have you?
Sure. I have not, so I can't really comment on that one.
But it's getting better and better, which is good. And the tutorial is a great thing to have. Especially, it does seem like really nice. It feels like you're kind of immersed in it when you are from the third person perspective versus like an isometric. It feels like you're just kind of going through like a Tomb Raider game or something.
Yeah, very true.
The next thing on this point is they fixed an issue where enemy players caught inside of vortexes, i.e. Poseidon's Whirlpool or Hades' Pillar of Agony, were not being slowed when using basic attacks. This was actually... It didn't happen all the time, but when it did, it was really frustrating, especially as a Hades. Like, people just like they would just like backpedal off your ultimate while they're shooting. You're like, wait, why? What?
Yeah. Yep, you're pretty much like, are you kidding me? Like, my ultimate is worthless. Like, this... So it's just a small fix, but I'm sorry, it's a huge fix, but something very simple.
Yep, absolutely. They also fixed an issue where a minion would not play a death animation correctly, and I don't know if this really plays into like. There's so many animations that are just like what, like they fly away or they dissolve into nothing, into the air, or they go into the skybox or something. So I don't even know, or they would just sit there and they not die at all. I'm pretty sure that's what it was mainly for, but there's a lot of things going on with the minions. But it's cool to see the effect of having an actual physics engine in a MOBA game where if Zeus smites them, they get all electrified and zap away, or Ra hits them with a beam and they dissolve into dust or whatever. It seems like and as they polish it, it'll start being more and more enjoyable.
Yeah, I think to me, honestly, looking at a game, sometimes I forget the game is still in beta. Like, it's like, really? Like, it's just because of all these little fine things they're doing, I'm like, couldn't they just be doing this when they launched the game? But it's so cool that they're doing it because, like, for example, the other day, I saw an All-Kong go ahead and ult an entire line of minions, and one of the minions, like, flew up, like, at spectator level, like, where you would be sitting as a spectator. Like, I can only imagine, like, being a spectator of that game, all of a sudden having, like, a dead body fly in front of your camera and then come back down. These things are. Did
you see the Emir video that I had?
I did. And I was like, and that's just screaming. It's like, hello, physics engine. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and I like your comment. You're like, Ymir needs to return to his home world.
His planet needs him. He just got hit by an Alquang ult and flies away, just disappears into the dust. It was hilarious. But yeah, the Alquang ult has a knock to it, and it's the same thing. Like Alquang tornadoes will force minions to be knocked away just because it's like wind. So they have a lot of cool effects that people don't even realize. Like, I didn't even know the Zeus one was there. Like, when they get all electrocuted and fall to the ground, I'd never seen that. It doesn't seem like it does it every time, but it definitely does work. I've seen it a bunch of times when playing Zeus.
I haven't seen it, but now I'm gonna have to pay attention to that. That'll be kind of cool. Now I'm gonna start like spotting these little things. Like, okay, what does it do with this god? What does it do with this god? So I'll have to keep an eye on it.
Absolutely. So next point is they fixed, and this is kind of I'm not sure like what extent this is because there's two problems here, and I think this only addresses one of them. So they fixed an issue where Alquang's Spirit's Tempest ability, which is his ultimate, would be invisible for players if they did not see Alquang when he fired it, which is super huge and extremely aggravating, and it's been here since the start of the closed beta. It's been around forever. Like, as long as Alquang's been here, it's been here. It's one of those things where if he ults from around a corner, you'll just hear it and you'll get hit by it, but you won't see it.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things that's just like really aggravating, especially if you get killed by it. And the other issue is the effect with the 2, which I don't believe is fixed. I haven't played Ao Kuang recently since the patch, but I don't believe that's fixed yet.
Yeah, I ran into this several times, and it's one of those things, and it's like, really? Like, what just happened? Because you don't even see it. So I'm very happy to see them actually making this correction.
Absolutely. So the next point is they fixed an issue when players could get stuck behind the fire giant. So if you're like an Agni and you did a Path of Flames on the fire giant and then you're immediately stuck, or if you're Arachne and you jumped on his head and then popped off and you fell behind him and got stuck, this can no longer happen, which is good. It happened to only a few select gods that had some kind of mobility mechanic that got them stuck back there. But it was super aggravating, especially if your team was like, disengage, disengage. You're like, I can't fight.
Hang on. You have to wait 5 seconds before my cooldown's up so I can leap out. Hang on. It would happen to me all the time.
Give me a second, guys.
Aggravating. Yeah, I know. So I don't know if they like scooched the fire giant forward a tad, or if they removed a little bit of the terrain directly behind him for the volcanic rock, or what. But I'm very happy to see this actually get changed.
Absolutely. It's just a lot of big bug fixes. So they also did performance optimizations that have been made with death animations and other physics-related effects. And I've actually heard from a few people who said they had a slight increase in FPS since the patch, which is cool. It did seem like there were, some animations or ragdolls or anything that were sticking around for a little bit too long, or overstaying their welcome or whatnot. So, that's good. I'm gonna check out my desktop for a second, guys.
No problem. In the meantime, I guess regarding the FPS there and just with adjustments, turn on vertical sync, people. I have vertical sync on. I have a 7870 and I put vertical sync on. Why? Because I'm not going to see any better than 60 frames per second with the human eye. So just put vertical sync on. Like, I love people that are like, oh, I'm running at 120 FPS, and it's like, okay, and you're seeing the exact same thing as I'm seeing at 60.
I drink 8 Red Bulls and I lean in.
That's right, to lean in. You're gonna get 3D. Just wait. Yeah, so that's just my thoughts. Every game I play, I put vertical sync on. It's like, why tax out your video card more than you need to say that you're getting. But anyways, pretty cool that we're seeing some performance adjustments made there, as I know some people have had some FPS problems in the past.
Right. So the next thing is several other UI elements have undergone a polish pass. I haven't really seen what this is exactly. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
Okay, I don't know if it's in the normal UI. I think it was in the lobby possibly. I know something happened with the resolution changes, something like that. I don't know if that's what it is, but it seems like a very small thing, because everyone I've talked to doesn't really know exactly what got polished there. But something got polished, and it's shinier, so I'm glad for it. Whatever it is, it's better.
Here's a question for you, and you may know this, and I've had this issue several times. When you jump into a game and your game doesn't actually change from lobby mode to full screen mode, isn't there a hotkey you can hit to force it to full screen instantly?
Alt-enter.
Alt-enter, okay.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating as like a caster to have that occur, and hopefully we see a fix get done with that. But
oh, it's my best friend. It happens to me all the time.
Oh,
and sometimes sometimes when it does go full screen, if it does windowed full screen, sometimes it'll click off to my second monitor and go to the desktop there in the middle of me like having a team fight. Like I'm about to click the Anubis Mummify, and I click off, and I'm just standing there staring, and I'm like, no. And I have to like click back, or it messes up my recordings or my stream, or it's really obnoxious.
Well, here's I guess my question though. Like for me, my lobby is like 1280 by 800 or something. If I hit full screen there, does it give me full screen of that? And it's like crappy. So either way, it's a disaster. Like either way, I don't win. Because literally, I'll leave game, come back in until it fixes itself, or I'll just be like, screw it. I'm gonna set lobby to full screen, like full res, and just deal with it for the current moment.
Just be done with it.
Anyways, enough ranting. Go ahead.
Several crash conditions have been fixed, and there are a lot of crash conditions, especially with Spectator and other things like that. But they fixed a handful of them, from what I understand. I don't know exactly which ones were fixed, but the game is just going for more performance than anything else with this section of the patch notes.
Sure.
They're setting the world settings to low or lowest will disable ragdoll deaths as a performance boost. So when you go to the lowest or the second lowest setting for world settings, you will not see ragdoll deaths, and that will improve your game. That was one of the main causes for FPS drops once they started adding in some fancy effects with that. So definitely great that they added that in.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy to see that they're making adjustments to make their player base not limited by a higher performance gaming computer. Like, they're starting to make the adjustments necessary that anybody can play this pretty much at this point. Like, if you've had a computer in the past 5 years, you're safe. I mean, some people could be longer, but it's really cool because look at the model of World of Warcraft, and yes, I'm going to go back to it. They created a game where anybody could run that on their machine at one point. Like when I played Vanilla WoW, it was just anybody could play on it because the graphics were so adjustable that lowest quality looked like crap, but hey, you could play, and then the highest quality looked amazing. So this is cool. I'm really happy to see some of these adjustments start to come into play.
Absolutely. So the second to last thing here is a variety of changes and improvements have been made to the sound music in the game. They actually, I think, added 2 music tracks, 2 new music tracks, and adjusted some of the sound effects and made it a little more sharper. So it's definitely, it's more immersive, and I like the new tracks. Very epic. It's like, gods fighting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know why. I'm so off topic today. It reminds me of The Big Bang Theory, if everyone's ever watched that. And they're driving in a car to go ahead and get Sheldon's gear back that got hacked, and they're playing that epic music they put in, and it's and it's all hardcore. That's what I feel like some of these audio tracks we're starting to see. So sorry, I didn't even.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I didn't even drink caffeine tonight. I'm drinking water right now. I don't understand.
That's the OG energy drink.
That's right.
So the last thing here under general is fix an issue where Vulcan's turrets would remain visible for a few seconds after it died. Again, a very small thing that no one really cared about, but definitely helps with just visual enjoyment of the game, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Now, going into Spectator changes, I'm probably just going to gloss over these really quickly, as most of you probably don't use Spectator that often. But they did add a few cool things, most notably being the fact that they made a fixed isometric viewpoint, which is toggleable. It's optional. It's not required. It doesn't force you to do so. But if you ever wanted to spectate in a Dota or LoL type style, you would definitely get that from that setting. Have you tested this at all?
I have. I actually jumped into it last night, and I used it for 3 seconds. I was like, oh, I don't like it. I'm gone. Back to the other way. I tried it out, and it's this weird flip around of the lane view. It's the opposite view of what you normally would get as you're kind of floating, and it's locked in. So as you're moving left and right, there's you don't have that free play type of style that I really like. Each caster, as you know, my camera casting is completely different from yours, and yours is completely different from Bart's and Lionhead's. Theeverybody has their different style, and it just doesn't click for me. I don't really like it. I like the free camera roam option of just not having that static view. So you'll have you had a chance to play with it or not yet?
No, I haven't had a chance to play any of the Spectator.
Okay, well, yeah,
but everyone's asking me what do you think about it? And I think, because obviously you could go and get your own isometric viewpoint if you wanted, just by going up to the skybox and looking down. So I don't think it's perfectly necessary, but it might help for players who are newer or anything like that, or come from other MOBAs. It might help them ease into the game, or whatever. But I like slowing down and zooming in on people using effects and explosions, and there's that little kid in me that just gets all excited when something goes in slow motion and people doing backflips and stuff. So I do enjoy that aspect. So the other thing too is you now see consumables currently equipped by spectated players. So that's just something that's added in the game and also added to Spectator. Performance optimizations, obviously they've been kind of focusing on that for this last week. Mana restore and statuses are now controlled by visibility settings. I think this was there already, but I think it's now a separate option rather than being lumped in with regen. I'm not sure. Have you looked at that yet?
I have not actually. Didn't even try that out last night. I don't usually put on some of those stat. I don't. I'm trying to read here. Restore status. So is that where when you go into settings you can turn on the health regain and stuff like that? They now have it for mana. Yeah, I don't usually put that on. I feel like it's a huge distraction, a little clutter.
The only one I do is crits.
Oh, that's a good. I
leave everything off but crits, just because it's super cool when someone comes in. It's 1,000. You're like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Hits like a truck.
Yeah, but that's the only one I leave on. I think the other one's experience, and I think it is the fact that because health and mana were popping together, so I guess the scrolling combat text would now have mana separately from the health, which is what they're trying to say there. So now the team scoreboard can be slid down out of view by pressing the L button by default, which is kind of cool. Instead of just shrinking it or trying to ignore it, you can just pop it down if you don't need it.
Sure.
Which is pretty cool. The top center timer now reflects the timer as seen during gameplay, while the timer on the playback controls reflects the overall match time, which is cool, which seems like they're trying to move towards more, accurately and consistently getting into the picking stage, which is like the hardest thing to do. Most of the time when you're doing a tournament, you're like, can I just see one picking stage this time, please? Can I just see one of them? So once you start getting into that, it's going to be really cool to have that. And it seems like they're focused on it as well. So this picking stage will be reflected from the timer on the replay clock, and then the in-game timer will be the gameplay timer, which is more accurate there. So those are now separate when before they weren't. The overhanging pieces of the conquest map, such as the top of the Fire Giant Cave and the ceilings on the team bases, have been removed for better visibility, and this is mainly because of the isometric view. Because if you lock in the isometric view, you're going to be like in the roof. So they removed that to make it look nice.
Yeah! Woo!
And they also fixed an issue where the camera could jolt to a different view after rewinding, which would generally happen if you were following a player and they respawned or teleported somewhere or whatever. You would just get just jumped across the map and stuck there for no apparent reason. So that got fixed there. So it's just all spectator changes. Anything that stands out to you besides isometric?
I mean, it's nice that they kind of removed the ceiling area. That stood out to me the most, and that was pretty cool. I'm surprised they didn't put in here something else that I saw yesterday casting. The Phoenix. There's now like a Phoenix tokens in the top. There's 3 in the top left and right corner above the teams. So as the Phoenix goes down, the token goes down, showing hey, how many Phoenixes are up. Kind of cool, but it doesn't work. I tried it yesterday. I sent it to high res. What was the other thing? I was telling you before the show. In previous patch, we actually saw you can go in and edit the team names. And you and I were both casting when you had to put it on your overlay and you had to edit the overlay to show the teams that are playing. Well, that was added in like a patch or two ago. Well, it's broke now. It says Team 1 and Team 2. Even if you go ahead and put in Curse and BLG, now when you take down a tower, it goes ahead and says, hey, Curse tower went down, whatever, but it doesn't show it at the top. So here's my rant, and here's my recommendation time for spectator mode. 1, we need to have a series area. So directly below the team names, we need to have a series. So I can say Curse Gaming is up 1-0 versus BLG in a best of 3 or a best of 5. It would be cool to see that. I want to see a timer added for Gold Fury and Fire Giant, which they didn't even put that. They didn't even discuss that here. They added in a Gold Fury and a Fire Giant buff bar for spectating. Unfortunately, for people like Drybear and I, they put it in the bottom left-hand corner where our cameras go. You can't put our cameras bottom right because that's where the mini map is. You can't put them top right. You block the teams. Can't put it top left. You block the teams. And so bottom left, they went ahead and put them. So I don't know. I think a timer would be awesome. You actually were referring to explain how again Dota 2 has their timer with
it's like when Roshan dies, there's this ethereal illuminated clock that ticks past when it's going to spawn, and once it gets to 0, it just disappears and Roshan spawns. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, little things like that. And so, high res, jot them down, send them to my people, we'll discuss them, and then, we'll see if we implement them, Anyways, moving on to the god adjustments. Agni had an adjustment. First off, with the graphics there, for updated looks and performance, which is so cool. The auto attack, it looks so much cooler now. And then second, the flame wave, a bug has been fixed that allows this ability to do double damage under some conditions. Tell us how you feel about that one.
Took them long enough. God, that just was it was the bane of my existence in ranked. It's just well, if I have first pick, then I'm going to ban Ra. If I don't have first pick, then I'm going to ban Agni. It's just I just want to get that broken god. And there were people that just had no shame, and they were just playing Agni 24/7 in ranked and just trying to, God. And I didn't, when the first bug came out, I didn't notice it at first. I was playing raw mid. I was getting destroyed by this Agni. I was why is this guy better than me, or what is this? And then someone on stream was oh, by the way, you're getting double damaged by his 2 every time it hits you. I'm oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's why 2/3 of my HP disappeared when he poked me.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's fixed now. I think, from what I understand, it was a conflict with Poseidon's implementation that caused that, and they didn't really have a quick fix for it. So that's how I understand that, taking a while to get fixed.
Okay, okay. Also, Ares Shackle fixed a bug when up very close. You'll not be able to apply another shackle. So I don't know if like it just got messed up in a previous patch or if it's been this way all along. But yeah, that's kind of important.
It's been this way for quite a while, but you have to be pretty close, and it's only like a small subset of cases where it would happen. But once it does, it's like really annoying, where like you landed your chain, but you don't get an extra one because it didn't count. So it was obnoxious, but just again another bug fix.
And now Poseidon. So before I talk about his changes, I saw 2 games back to back with Curse Gaming going Poseidon middle. Let's just say Poseidon like rolls face right now.
Was it Zap?
No, Zap actually went with Neath back to back in both games and dominated as Neath.
Oh, was it Scrims?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Poseidon's so good. Like he was going against Agni and just like melting Agni. Anyways, back to our changes so people understand. Changing tides, the passive. The rate at which the tide is reduced automatically over time has been decreased. Bonus scaling changed from quadratic to linear. Now uniformly scaled based on tide level. Example, 50% tide level now grants 50% of the max tide bonus. Then I'll just go through all these and we can talk about it. Tidal Surge, cooldown reduced from 12 to 10 for all ranks. Damage increased by 20 for each rank for Tidal Surge. Trident, the percentage of the tide consumed has been reduced from 35% to 15%. More than half, okay? And Whirlpool, the percent of the tide consumed has been reduced from 35% to 25%. The pull-in has been increased as well. And then finally, Release the Kraken, which this has been like, oh my gosh, every time it was popped last night, it was like bam, death, like increased outer radius base damage from 120, 150, 180, 210, 240 to 170, 195, 220, 240, and 270. So the max difference was 240 versus 270. So I'm just going to throw it to you. What thoughts on Poseidon getting these minor adjustments made?
This is it's not minor at all. I mean, just the passive itself.
I know,
it's like
right?
the scaling. I mean, it used to be like small, and then it would go up and be like really strong at the end. So now you don't have to have full tide to get full effectiveness.
Sure.
Like it literally just 1 for 1, you get percentage increase. So it's not. It used to be like you would have to fill it out as much as you possibly could, and then use an ability. Now it's just like whatever tide I have, I'll just get bonus damage. Obviously reducing the cooldown to his surge and then adding more damage to it, and then his trident, not really a big deal anymore. I mean, no one like really uses his trident because his 1, 3, and 4 do so much damage now. And then Whirlpool, the pull-in is the biggest thing to me because the pull-in was rather lackluster before. Now it's pretty decent, but if you ever get a gem plus the Whirlpool, you're stuck in that. That's peanut butter. I mean, you just get pulled in super hard, and you can't really get out. Plus, it has a cripple on it. I mean, that Whirlpool is really strong now. And then his ultimate obviously does a lot more damage now on the outside, which means more reliable damage. And overall, talking to most of the people, everyone who's plays ranked a lot or is in the top area of rating would agree that he really didn't need that much. Especially, if you were playing him at a comfortable level and not making a lot of mistakes, you really didn't need much to play him effectively. He was a very strong character. Now he's super strong, and I expect him to get picked up a lot more. I don't know how they're going to adjust it if they want to pull back on any of this or adjust anything. But now everything about him is strong. His Whirlpool is a lot stronger. The pull's very effective, especially with the Gem of Isolation. So play him as a full mage. He's very bursty, almost like Hebo status. It's like a little bit less, but he has a lot of utility with it as well. So it depends on how it gets played out. At first, a lot of times it's hard to get a grasp on
Sure.
Is this too much or not, and it'll take time for people to get a hold of that. But I think he needed something, just not this much.
Yeah, I like your reference there. Whirlpool equals like peanut butter. It's like Whirlpool, release the Kraken, and if there is any bit of life left, you can just go ahead and throw down a Tidal Surge just to chase him down and kill him.
Whereas Whirlpool does a lot of damage too.
Yep. Just the combos, disgusting. But yeah, so those are the Poseidon adjustments. I'm just gonna take a guess here and say we're gonna see Poseidon's like the new hell. We're gonna see adjustments made for the next 5 patches. But I
think he's close because like competitively, like if you're looking at character versus character, there wasn't a big reason to pick him over Ra or Hebo
Sure.
for either reason why you were getting him. So he needed something. I don't know if if you were to cut some of the changes in half, I think he'd be perfect. But
Yep.
obviously the change to his passive makes him overall a lot better. His ultimate now, you don't really have to hit it. Obviously the stun is going to be the big benefit and the extra damage. But his
Sure.
passive makes everything a lot better. But I think, I mean, even if they remove the extra pull from his whirlpool, it's just, I don't know, that gem pool combination is just so dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving away from Poseidon, we do have Ra, which I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? The ability now always hits its target once, never multiple times. We will evaluate the effect and change it if necessary. Did Celestial? I'm sorry, should I say, does Celestial Beam need the multiple hit option, or no? Should it be one cast, one hit?
I wonder if this is something that just spawned from, people saying, oh, why does Augie double hit? This is bad. And then most people would say, well, Ra can double hit.
Sure.
And it's just different kits. And, the general response is Ra can't ult multiple times.
Yep.
So it's kind of just how it balances out there. But I think I would be okay with this if they up the damage and scaling on his 1, which I would like overall because that means that his 1 is more reliable. It's something that it'll always do this amount of damage. You don't have to worry about double hitting or triple hitting. And there's never going to be those points where it's just kind of wonky and back and forth where you get one hit, it does okay damage, and all of a sudden you do a triple hit and it just annihilates somebody. It would all be more balanced. So I think if they just put a little bit more scaling on it and maybe a little bit more base damage, I think I'd be perfectly okay with it as is, just because it's it's one of those things where it's like it is kind of random and it does seem like it doesn't really fit with a character like Ra. But I think just removing it flat out without any of their adjustments was a little bit too much.
Yeah, and they leave it kind of open-ended with this comment. They put it right in the patch notes. We will evaluate the effect of this change. So maybe it'll meet somewhere in the middle, some type of adjustment. I don't know, some type of max between the hits. We'll have to see how that works out. And then finally, the last adjustment we actually saw this patch was actually for Vulcan. Volcanic Overdrive. The cooldown on rank 4 and rank 5 is now properly set to 90 seconds. Mana cost on rank 4 and 5 is now properly set to 100. I will admit I don't play Vulcan as much. What about you? What are your thoughts on this adjustment?
It was a small bug, and I don't think it was much less. It was just a thing where it just, again, a small subset where it just wouldn't work properly. The mana would be, I think the mana was over, and the cooldown was under, but not by a whole lot. It was just like 10 seconds, something like that, in certain cases, and it didn't happen all the time. So it was something that needed to be fixed, but again, it's one of those bugs that no one knew was there.
Sure, definitely. Well, that ends the patch notes. I guess my question for you, overall thoughts of the patch?
Some much needed stuff, some awesome stuff, some cool skins, and then some wait a minute type stuff. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where just to play it out and see how things go. I'm glad to see Aphrodite added to the group. I'm enjoying her as a character, and I'm actually looking forward to her being unlocked for ranked. Just because I like playing her as a support, and I don't have a lot of supports that I like playing. So when she's unlocked, if I have to play support, I'll enjoy doing that. And I think in the right hands, she's very, very powerful, countering certain ultimates or engagements or whatever, and it can make other characters who generally aren't that strong much stronger. So I like her being added and some of the changes. I think they need to look at Ra, and maybe just, I think that's the best solution I can come up with. It's just keeping it as it is and then just adding more scaling or more damage to his 1, and then he'll be a much more well-rounded god rather than, oh my god, I just one-shot someone on accident type thing.
Sure. Overall thoughts on my thoughts is I'm really happy to see, as you said, Aphrodite coming in. We're now going to start to see this more. This is like a true support utility god. Before, some people argued, hey, Ra was maybe a little bit of hell, but this is a true support utility god. So really eager to see future types of gods that are introduced with the same type of style. As for the skins, pretty cool. Under the general section, my overall thoughts there is I'm really happy to see SMITE starting to polish the game. I am a firm believer in what Blizzard does, where they don't release a game until it's polished. And we're actually seeing that out of Hi-Rez. They've released some good titles. I'm saying good. And I used to play Tribes, but I really like that they're, polishing SMITE. They're prolonging beta, ridiculously prolonging, but they're prolonging beta to polish it. So I'm really happy to see that. Spectator mode change is cool. Spectator mode has come a long way since it was first introduced, and it's just the options are endless. It'd actually be cool to even see a customized UI where you can drag and drop stuff around. That'd be kind of cool. But it's just they're adding in so many cool features that are very helpful to casters and spectators. And then finally, the god changes I'm very happy with. Poseidon I'm concerned about. Is he going to be like the broken Thor we saw months back? Is it going to be, Hell, where they're just, she was so good that, she was banned and then they completely destroyed her and nobody picked her. I'm just hoping they balance out Poseidon because I really like him. It's a cool play style. But overall, I think it's been a pretty good patch this week.
Yeah, a lot of much needed stuff people have been waiting on, and I'm glad to see that they're, like you said, polishing it up. So it's looking better and better every day. You want to go ahead and head into, I guess, the giveaway and then questions?
Sure.
Or questions and giveaway?
Sure. Let's go ahead and go. Just quick announcement. I want to congratulate
oh, yes.
my Revenge, now Copenhagen Wolves. Am I pronouncing that right? Copenhagen
yes.
Wolves?
Copenhagen.
Another team's getting picked up. Yay! So My Revenge got picked up, and as you were telling me, because you have a little bit more knowledge of this with just some more MOBA games, they're a pretty big team. Is it in LoL and Dota as well?
I think it's mainly LoL, and I think they have CS as their other game. They're not, like as long withstanding as other sponsorships, but they're huge in LoL. They're a very big team now. So Copenhagen Wolves also, mainly EU. That's why we saw My Revenge EU getting picked up there. So definitely a huge pickup. It's not something that rolls off the tongue or as well known as something like EG or SK or those big names, but definitely a very, very big pickup and something that's something to gawk at, definitely. And a big congratulations to My Revenge, who you saw. I don't know if you saw the splash screen for the My Revenge pickup where they showed their history and all the tournaments they've done and all their first and second places and whatnot. It's kind of cool to see how long they've been competing, and all the players, all of them really deserve the upgrade and the sponsorship, and hopefully that comes with like kind of Twitch TVs type stuff for them or sponsorships or any partnerships that they can get from it, and everyone on that team definitely deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see, though, in the article, like, Meet the New Wolves, it's titled, they talk about, hey, $10,000 tournaments coming out, like, SMITE is playing the esports scene so well in this game. Like, they introduced, like, the $100,000 tournament with, like, not a ton of details or anything like that, and then they do a $10,000 one. Like, this literally is like taking gasoline and throwing it on the fire. When it comes to esports, imagine esports as the fire. Like, this is awesome. Like that, things are just exploding now. All these teams are now getting picked up. I mean, I came into the SMITE scene when it was like, hey, can't wait for a team to get picked up. Not sure when that's going to happen, but someday when we grow up. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see sponsors having, starting to coordinate themselves with the scene and starting to actually back some of these things. So anyways, congratulations to Copenhagen Wolves for the pickup of My Revenge. And outside of that, the only thing I want to plug, other thing I want to plug just before we jump into questions is we're getting some good feedback on iTunes, guys. I went ahead and posted that link in chat. So if you guys aren't able to catch this entire thing and want to catch the whole thing, please make sure that you do check out that link. That is our iTunes link. It is audio only, so you can take it on the go, the gym, on the way to work, at work, whatever you want to do. So please make sure you guys go check that out. And without further ado, we'll do 3 questions tonight. I'll let you handle those, Dry Bear, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the gem code giveaway.
Well, there's one at the beginning that I think a lot of people are curious about, and I'm not entirely sure if this is like something that they don't want said or not.
Sure.
So I'm going to kind of tread lightly here, but the Doom Orb was removed from the game. And the reason being is Aphrodite would not lose stacks when she died.
That's not strong or anything.
Yeah, I know. But that is something that a lot of people are asking. I mean, I've heard that question like 80 times today. Like, where'd the Doom Orb go? Where'd the Doom? It's because Aphrodite never lost any stacks ever.
Sure.
So it was something they just kind of like, oh crap, remove it, type things. They didn't want anyone abusing that. So that's gone. That should be gone, coming back pretty quickly. But I'm not going to miss the Doom Orb too much. So we see any questions? They use public test server more. Yeah, I think they should. They use the PTS a bunch, but then they stopped using it just because like they're kind of beta for a beta type thing. They don't really have to do such crazy stuff. I think if they're gonna do something big again, like focus or stats, if they do something like that, they probably should use a PTS, even though they're already in a beta type thing. But if they're just gonna roll out a change, they can just roll out the change, and if people don't like it, they can revert it. Our beta group is going to be their best test group anyway, so you don't really have to really turn to a secondary group to test it out. Obviously they're going to get much more feedback from just going live into the open beta than anything else.
This is beta. This is the test server. Like when they announced that they were going to do a test server, I was like, you're doing a test server of a test environment. Like, this is a test environment. And so it just made me laugh just because I'm in the IS background, IT background fields, and I'm just like, you're doing a test of a test, like, really? But I agree with you, like, but from what we saw like several weeks back, they said, hey, we're not going to go ahead and do anything when it goes to any drastic changes anymore. We're just polishing it. So I don't think they should use a test server, just my personal opinion. Polish the game, get it out, then you can use a test server.
Let's see, questions. What is the best way to get into the swing of using a new god, and where is the best place to view games from the top teams? So using a new god, the best way is just to play it. Just play it over and over, play it in multiple scenarios, just play it in the mid lane if you want to play it that's a mid god or, a multi-faceted god, or play it and just keep playing it over and over and get comfortable with it. One of the biggest things that people run into when they're newer to a MOBA is they'll just completely shut down and listen to what everyone else says. And you can use builds from other people, but if you're focusing too much on what other people are telling you, you're not really gonna get a feel for the gods. So you just need to experiment, die a bunch and figure out why you died and learn from it. It's a creative process. A lot of people look at it as just a rote procedure, but it really is a creative process learning to play a game like Smite. So just play it and then get comfortable with it and enjoy that kind of aspect. And where is the best place to view games from top teams? You can view it in game. You go to the stats page and check out top ranked players or anything like that. You can watch tournaments and any replay that has been has a little TV icon on it on the stats page is viewable by you, so you can watch replays that way. There's also a website up and coming, smitereplays.com, if you want to check that out.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, what?
Oh, what?
Like I worked that in there?
Yeah. Anyways, if you guys are wondering what that is, myself and a team of developers are working on a site that will allow community members to jump on it and search a tournament or a team or a player, and it will show you replay information and then allow you to actually instructions to launch the replay. So it'll be pretty cool. You can search Root Gaming and it'll show any game replays that have been added. You can go ahead and look up every replay for a tournament. We're actually collaborating. We've had access to the high-res servers, so it's going to be synced up with their high-res servers, the back-end servers. So it's in production. We actually just brought on a content manager this past week to start working on some additional content. We have 2 web developers and a graphic designer. We're going to be hiring a marketing manager as well here shortly. So the site's going really well, but it's probably about 50% done. Just a lot of work to do with the API. So our hope is to have it out before launch, but we don't know when that is, so we don't know when we're going to launch the site. Anyways, the one thing I wanted to add, you had mentioned about look for any stats that do have the little play the TV button. They actually were high-res was having issues as of yesterday. I don't know if they fixed it. That button wasn't coming up, and reason being was because they were having issues reporting stats. So I don't know if that's back up just yet.
I can check right now.
Yeah, check real quick just so that people know, because I had brought that. I think I talked to Duke yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, we're having issues with stats." And then I tried to I was like, "Oh, let me check out some ranked games." I was like, "Wait, ranked games I can't view," and I'm like, "What the heck?" And then I realized the TV wasn't there, so we'll have to see.
It looks like it's back up now.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm happy to see that.
But it doesn't look like it brought back any of the matches that were there was a short time. It was like an 8 to 20-hour period where no matches were recorded, and there was I played 4 ranked matches and none of those are showing right now. So I guess those are just void, just gone. Disappeared.
And so just another thing about matches and stuff like that, we were talking about it. Those of you guys not familiar, when a patch comes out, any replays from the previous patch are no longer viewable. And one of the guys from High Res explained it to me because we got in discussions with them for the replay site. They're looking to fix that, I guess, at some point, because it kind of doesn't make sense. Like every single time you do a patch, it destroys any games prior to it. But it's a problem with the way, I guess, their database updates, and it like clears out the old replays or whatever, so they're not actually there anymore or something like that. I don't know the exact specifics. I'd love to see like a technical write-up from someone at High Res, but so keep that in mind because I've had a lot of people send me replays to cast, which I love doing, but then it's like after that next patch comes out, and then I can't access them anymore.
And then gone. Yep.
And then gone. And then gone. It's like, oh, come on. So that's one thing we have to wait for them to adjust for the SMITE replay site, because the site won't be valuable if you can't go look at a huge tournament go on and you want to view the replays, you can't. So we're waiting on that, too, to get fixed. But how about we do one more question, and then we'll go ahead and do the gem code giveaway.
Why are you so cute? That's the question.
Because my mama made me this way.
Dunked in a barrel of sugar.
I assume they're talking about you, because you're just a stud muffin over there.
I think they're talking to Snowy Eyes.
Oh, how you doing?
Oh, hey.
All right, let's get a little better question than that.
Do you think that Ares' ult should be so easily counterable? I'm going to throw this to you.
Sure. They've made adjustments recently to make it not as easy to counter. And what I mean by that is we've actually seen Beads and Aegis, and I think it was Sprint 2, slowly make their way up in the cooldown timing. And now I think, what are we up to, like 180 seconds? So it's something like astronomical now, so that as Ares, you actually do have to pay a little more attention when it comes to when your enemies are using that, because your ult will be up again way before they can use Aegis. So I actually would have to say I feel Ares is in a good spot right now because of the adjustments to Aegis and also Beads. I don't think that he's super counterable anymore. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I think he's fine. The fact that he does so much damage and the fact that he has a static cripple for the duration of his chains makes him much, much stronger in the laning phase. And the fact that there are so many more characters coming out that do have abilities that get countered by Aegis or by Beads, means that even if you have someone that he uses it and then like 4 people pop their Aegis him and you're like, well, now the release the Kraken or something like that. It's just like it's more of a team play aspect. I think he's perfect where he is. I like Ares how he is now.
Yep.
And the fact that he doesn't really provide much but the slow and anything, but he does like more damage than almost every tank at low levels, and even into the mid game. I mean, he just does so much damage. It's scary how much damage he can put out. So that kind of counteracts that pretty easily. Yeah,
I agree. All right, I'm ready when you are. If you want to go ahead and do a giveaway, let's set the keyword to actually wolves. So WOLVES. Because of the fact of Western Wolves actually, or not Western Wolves, Copenhagen Wolves actually coming into the SMITE scene. I think we do definitely need to give them props. This helps fuel the scene even more, and so I'm very happy every time I see one of these major teams come out. Now I'm just like, all right, we need a team to sponsor casters. That'd be awesome. Woo!
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, it looks like we have wolves now flooding the chat room, which is great. I don't know, do they need the pound anymore? I don't think they do, right?
I think they still do.
Okay.
I already put the keyword in, and 2 people said wolves without the hashtag in the beginning, and it didn't work.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, just because I've seen it go both ways, so that's
yeah, it works for some people. It didn't work for me, and I typed in the hashtag, and you see 4 people typed in wolves. And then Kenny02 typed in hashtag wolves, and he was the first one to be added. So I guess.
So you do need the hashtag then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like we're continuing to see a few last people get in here. In the meantime, while we wait, I guess we'll go ahead and close out and let people know where they can find us. Me particular, guys, I do as much casting as I can throughout the week with a lot of scrimmages. I actually did 2 scrimmages last night. Had a hell of a time actually casting them. And you can check out that content over on twitch.tv/OctanePro, SCII. And then also check me out on YouTube. Every match I go ahead and cast, I throw it up on YouTube as an individual game, so you can go over there. I have a ton of games from all different teams. So that's youtube.com/OctanePro, SCII. I'm getting there. I'm getting there with casting. I'm trying to polish my skills quite a bit. I feel I am not at a level of Dry Bear yet. I will give props where they are due. And I will say I'm not at a level that Dry Bear or Lionheart or Bard is at yet. But I'm trying, and I really appreciate everyone who's actually thrown me over some constructive criticism and said, "Hey, I love your streaming, but X, Y, and Z, work on these things." So, anyways, check that out. That's Octane Pro SCII for YouTube and also for Twitch. What about you?
Don't sell yourself short, man. There's a pool of casters, and then we're a small group. We need to stick together. But
protect our own.
Exactly.
Protect our own and wear our blazers.
There you go. So you guys know where to get me. You can find me at youtube.com/drybeargamers. I post daily videos, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, but generally usually 1, and almost always you will see a Smite video every single day, even though I branch out to other content. So if you're looking for more Smite content, something in more of a formal aspect than just the streamer, then you go check me out on my YouTube channel. I've more recently been dipping into like ranked matches, analysis. I'll be doing more guides as I become more available in the next few weeks. And I'm starting a new series, which I think a lot of people are going to like, and you'll probably see that rolling out in the next week or so. So definitely go check out my YouTube channel. Definitely, it's like my main squeeze type thing. So you check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/drybeargamers, and also Twitch here. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can go to my Twitch at twitch.tv/drybear. That's where you're going to find me most often for streaming. I also stream on the high-res Smite game channel on Eastern from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. on weekdays, Monday through Friday. So you can check me out there on the Smite game channel. I'm there 5 days a week, so you'll catch me there on a regular schedule if you miss me elsewhere. But that's pretty much it. I mean, we're just going to go ahead and cut this out as we do give away the gems off the recording here. But if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to go over to Octane Pro's YouTube and Twitch and follow him and subscribe to him. And then, look forward to seeing you in our next update.